Hi all, in this video we will talk about wrapper classes in Java. So first we will understand why do we need a wrapper class in Java, okay? So let's imagine a scenario where you are creating a list to store roll numbers, student roll numbers, okay? Now let's say you are creating, usually roll numbers would be numbers only, and assume that you are using integer data type to store roll numbers of the students in a list, okay? So you want to get all the roll numbers, that's why you are using a list, collection list to store these roll numbers of a student, okay? Now what you will do, student roll number, usually student roll number list, okay? Now see, I can import this. Yeah, and what you will do is I'm using array list to create student roll number list, okay? Now if you look carefully here, java.util.star, yeah. So now if you look carefully here, let's say usually I have roll numbers like this, to int student1 roll number equal to 1, and then I have roll numbers like this, int student2 roll number equal to 2, so on, okay? We'll use 3 roll numbers and so on. So if you look carefully here, what's happening, you have roll numbers that are stored in primitive data types, okay? Now you are using integer here. Sometimes you don't have huge number of students, you might use byte as well, you might use short data type as well, okay? And all the roll numbers you have in the primitive data type, sometimes I might use like byte as well. Byte still works, okay? You maybe, let's say you have only 100 students in your class, you might go with the byte as well, okay? So byte, I can use short or I can use integer as well, okay? Let's go with integer. Now we want to add these roll numbers to this particular list, because this array list, you have created an array list to store the student roll numbers, and you have the roll numbers already stored in the primitive data types. So if you look here, whatever we are adding to the, like whatever value you added to a list, that data type should match the data type that you have declared. Let's say if I am adding integer here, this is an integer, this is not a primitive data type, and now here it's a primitive data type, so there is a discrepancy here, right? So usually how the collection works is, whatever the data type you define here, it should match with the data type that you are trying to add. Now here I have declared 1, 2, 3, and the data type of 1, 2, 3 is primitive integer, so these two are not matching. If those two matches, then only you will be able to add numbers, student roll numbers to that particular list, okay? These are not matching because here they are using the integer class, but you have the primitive integer data type. So to make this work, what we have to make this work, what Java has done is, okay, since you might need to use integers, bytes, and then double, float, whatever the primitive data types, short, byte, short, integer, long, double, float, character. So all these are the primitive data types, right? So to use those primitive data types in the collections, Java collections, what you have to do is, you have to convert your primitive data types to the respective classes, okay? So what Java has done is, it has created a class, okay? It has created classes corresponding to each and every primitive data type. So let's say you have these are the, like usually you have these are the primitive data types that are present in Java, like boolean, integer, byte, short, integer, long, float, double, boolean, character. So these are all the primitive data types that you have. So but in the collections allows only classes and the interfaces. To use any collection, be it a list or set or linked list or whatever the map, whatever the collection you use, it allows only classes or interfaces to be defined here. Like classes and interfaces are also data type, right? So here it allows only classes and interfaces. It will not allow, like let's say if I declare list int, it will throw error, okay? Because it will not allow primitives to get stored in a list. Here if you see, cannot be of primitive type. So you can't use primitive types in the Java collections. Java collections allows only classes and the interfaces. That's why what Java has done is, so people might have the primitive data types and they might want collections to be used for their primitive data types. Like here I have roll numbers present in my primitive data type int. Okay, now I want to create a collection of roll numbers, and that's why I chose collection java.util.list. Okay, and now since collections won't work with the primitives, what Java has done is, for each and every primitive data type, it has created a corresponding wrapper class. So for boolean, so for bool is the primitive data type. For boolean, corresponding wrapper class is boolean. Okay, and for char is the primitive data type. For char, the corresponding wrapper class is character. Okay, and for byte you have this byte. Okay, and for short, so right hand side are the primitive data types and left hand side are the wrapper classes. Okay, for integer it has like this. Okay, for long you have long. Okay, now float. So these are the primitive data types and its corresponding wrapper classes. So here, except for the boolean and character, these names, except boolean, character and integer, for the remaining names are same, just that the naming convention is different, because classes should start with capital letter, right? That's why the naming convention is followed. But otherwise only boolean, character and integer you have a different name. But for others, the name is same, it's just the naming convention is different. So what wrapper classes does? Okay, so what wrapper classes does is, it will it will wrap the value inside it. Okay, now you have this integer class. Okay, so when you can wrapper classes have methods, like you have methods to convert primitive values to the wrapper class, wrapper data type. And in sometimes what happens is, let's say you have this already, you have student roll number list stored in the roll number stored in this particular list, and you want to get the value, let's say student x1. Now student roll number list dot get of, when you are getting the value, you want primitive data types. So first use case what we have discussed here, you are storing primitive data types into the collection. That is where you have a problem. Okay, now you can have another use case where you already have a list in which the roll numbers are stored, and now you want to get each and every roll number to print it. So while getting each and every roll number, you might have a use case to store it in a primitive data type. Now here it will give you the integer wrapper class, but you want to convert it to the primitive type. So vice versa, converting a primitive to the wrapper class and converting a wrapper type to the primitives. Okay, so you have these two use cases. So what this particular wrapper class does is, so you compare this wrapper with a chocolate wrapper. What a chocolate wrapper does, it will put chocolate inside it and it will cover it. The wrapper is basically, it is covering it, right? So in the same way, this particular integer, what it does is, if you pass primitive value, it acts as a wrapper. Inside integer, it will store this primitive value. Okay, and when you unwrap it, when you unwrap the chocolate cover, you get the chocolate. Okay, when you want to get primitive data type from the wrapper class, what you have to do is, you have to unwrap it. Okay, basically you box it and you unbox it. Okay, so when you box the primitive data type, then inside it will get converted to the wrapper class, but inside it you have the student value. And when you unbox it, what happens is, you will remove the wrapper, and inside whatever the value that is present inside, you will get it. Okay, you can compare that with the chocolate wrapper also. So it works similarly, similar to the chocolate wrapper. That's why the name is also given like that. Okay, so now here, so first we will discuss the first use case only, where you want to convert the integer like primitive data types to the wrapper class. Okay, now what you have to do is, so you got it right. There is a corresponding wrapper class for each and every primitive data type. Now this will wrap the value. Okay, now what we discussed is, this will wrap the value that we gave. To wrap the value, we have to use the method. Okay, now what does that mean is, add of, it is expecting integer. So what I have to do is, integer dot value of. Value of is a method that is present on the wrapper class, okay, which will convert the primitive data type to the corresponding wrapper class. Value of, what I can do is int student roll number 1. Student roll number 1. I have to write this below, okay. Let me do that. So now if you see, shit. Yeah, now this will work, okay. Now what we are basically doing is student 1 roll number, okay. Yeah. So what we have done is this wrapper class, it has a method value of, and you are passing primitive data type. So when you pass this primitive data type, what it does is it is actually creating a new instance of integer class, okay, with the value that we have passed it. Basically what you can say is it is actually forming an outer layer for the primitive type, and that outer layer is of type integer, okay. Now you can do the similar thing for the other 2 roll numbers as well, okay. Now you can do the similar thing, but instead of student 1 roll number, you can add student 2 roll number, and you can add student 3 roll number. So this way your issue is solved. Basically your issue is collections work with only classes and interfaces, but you have the primitive values. Now you want you have a use case where you want your primitive values to be stored in the collection, and what you have done is, since collections accept only classes and interfaces, you have used the corresponding wrapper class for this primitive data type, and using that wrapper class, what you have done is you have converted this primitive data type to this integer class using value of method, and then finally you were able to store the values. Okay, now you have stored the values. Let's say now I have done this logic. Let's say there is some other person who is not aware of all this logic, okay, whatever logic that is present from line 7, whatever this particular logic, they are not aware. They know that, okay, roll numbers are stored in this particular collection student roll number list, and they want to print roll numbers, okay, they want to print, or they want to get the roll numbers, okay, they want to get the roll numbers. So assume that another person is not aware of this logic, okay. Now what happens is they want to store roll numbers in primitive roll number 1, int roll number 2, something like that, okay. They want to store roll numbers in integer primitive data type, okay, roll number 3. Now what happens is, let's say, now again you have a problem. This will give you the wrapper class integer, but you are expecting primitive data type, okay. So you should have some method to just extract the value from this integer type, okay. So that's why what Java has done is student roll number list dot get of you 0, you have to pass the index, okay, and then what you can do is dot int value. So dot int value, what it does is, so basically this one student roll number list dot get of 0, it will give you the first value from the list, basically student 1 roll number. But since it is of type integer, you want a primitive data type, right? So that's where you have to use this int value, okay. Now if you see this roll number 1, so similarly you have to unbox it. So first one is unboxing and the second one is unboxing. First one is you're wrapping a primitive value inside a wrapper class, and the second one is you are removing the wrapper and you're getting the actual primitive value, okay. Now your use case is solved, okay. So if you want to use a collection to store primitive data types, what you can do is you can use this wrapper class and you can use this value of method, and then you can convert a primitive to wrapper. And then if you want to get the items that are stored in this list and store it as a primitive data type, what you can do is you can convert a wrapper class into a primitive data type using the dot int value. Like I'm showing it only for integer, but this works same for other data types as well. Like you can use byte dot value of, okay, byte dot value of, you can use this, like if it is byte value, you have to use byte value. So it works similarly for other primitive data types as well. Okay, now your use case is solved. But when you look at this is so clumsy, because just to store the primitive data types into the list and then to get the primitives out, to store primitives and to get primitives from your collection, you have all this extra logic, right? This is extra logic and this is extra logic, and every time now you assume that you are storing only 3 roll numbers. Let's say you are storing thousands of roll numbers and 1000 lines to convert it to a primitive, convert it to a wrapper class, and 1000 times to get a primitive value from a wrapper class. So this is all extra effort you have to put. So that's why what Java does is you need not pass, at least from versions greater than Java 5, before you have to do all this work manually, but in the current versions what Java has done is you need not use this, okay, integer dot value. You just do student1 roll number. Okay, I'll take care of adding it, I'll take care of wrapping it. Okay, Java assumes that based on let me first complete this code. Student2, now if you see, you did not get any error. Ideally, now what happens, it is expecting a wrapper class, but you are passing the primitive data type. Ideally it should have thrown error, but Java did not throw any error, because what Java is doing is, it is auto boxing. Okay, usually you have to box the value, or you have to add a wrapper to your primitive data type, but since it's an extra effort for the programmers, what Java has done is it will auto box, or it will auto wrap the values, auto wrap primitive data types. So if you see here, wherever a wrapper class is expected, if you pass primitive data type, Java takes care of it. Okay, now here if you see, this is the first part where it is converting primitive data type to the wrapper class, okay, corresponding class. And the another case is, you are expecting primitive data type, but you have this wrapper class. Now you are using int value. You need not use this int value. Okay, it will still work. So it is auto unboxing. So Java auto wraps the value and it auto unwraps the primitive value. It auto wraps primitive value and gives you a integer class. It auto unwraps this integer and it gives you a primitive. Okay, Java takes care of that. You need not do anything. Okay, so you just need to understand that you can still use primitive data types with the collections where you expect the classes. Okay, now this works similarly for other data types as well. Okay, let's say you want to use double values. Okay, you want to use double, it will still work. It will still work. New double off. Okay, now same value of method, same thing, it will still work. Okay, double and then double, it will still work. It's just the double. Okay, but it will still work. It works same for integers and as well as the doubles. Okay, so you can directly use this, and the similar logic you can follow for byte, short, long as well. Like even for byte, right, it will auto wraps and auto unwraps it, even for bytes as well. Okay, just that I have to use byte here. It will work similarly for other data types as well, like other primitive data types. Okay, byte, short, integer, long, float, double, all are the number data types, right? So this works same. Let's look one example for boolean and one example for character. Okay, so boolean, if you see, usually boolean will have true, false, right? Okay, now if you see the boolean, now what I'll do is I'll do bool. Bool is the primitive data type for the boolean. Boolean. Sorry. Yeah, here as well it's a boolean. Sorry, it's my mistake. Yeah. Now what you have to do is, now if you say boolean accepts only true, right? Boolean accepts only true or false. Okay. So true. Same thing. Okay, true. Now it will still work, and it will convert into the corresponding wrapper type and it will still work. Let's try with character as well. Okay, character. So what I'll do is I'll do character, and here it would be char. Yeah, char. It's same. Let's say you add C and you add A. It will convert into the corresponding character wrapper class. You will add B. Okay, it will still work. The only thing is, yeah, so it will still work. You need not use these values. Okay, but if you want, like Java does auto wrapping and auto unwrapping, but if you want to use explicitly, what you can do is student3 roll number of, okay, like value of. So what you have to do is character dot, to convert primitive to, what you have to do is student1 roll number of. Okay, just remember these methods. It would be helpful in case if you want to do it explicitly. Okay, so value of method is used to convert a primitive data type to the wrapper class, and then like let's say this roll number dot int value, or now if you see roll number 1 dot, this is char value, you can use roll number 1 dot, okay, not here what you have this get 0, okay, character dot char value you can use. So dot wrapper class dot value of primitive data type, in the argument is the primitive data type. This will be used to convert a primitive value into the wrapper class, and to convert a wrapper class into a primitive you have to use this. If it is a character, you have to use char value. If it is an integer, you have to use int value. If it is a double, you have to use double value. Okay, you have double value. So all these like it's the same methods you have to use. Okay, let's look at few methods. Okay, what I'll do is let's remove all this and let's look at few methods. Now you assume that you have integer. Okay, new array list of integer I equal to 10. So integer dot value of, I can use it to convert. Okay, now so if you use double dot value, so you can pass double here. Okay, string we will discuss it later. Okay, but if you see double dot value you can use, I'm just showing. Then character dot value of, if you see the value, it is asking only the char. Now boolean dot value of, you can use both string and boolean. So except for the character, you remember there are two methods. Okay, passing the boolean and passing the string. Okay, that I'll explain it in some time. Now in the same way you can use byte dot value of. Okay, so like this, just remember, it might be useful anyway. Java does auto boxing and auto unboxing. Just remember these methods as well, in case if you want to do explicit conversion. Okay, now you understood it, right, how to use the integer dot value. Now let's say you have an integer. Okay, you have new integer of, let's assume that you have already integer I1 equal to new integer of, you already have a wrapper class, integer dot value is equal to integer dot value of, let's say you already have 12. Now to convert it, I1 dot, what I can do, value of. So if you see here, integer can be converted. What are the numeric data types that are present in Java? Numeric primitive data types, byte, short. So I'm specifying it in the range order. First one is the byte, second one is the short, then integer, long, float, double. So you can convert this value either to integer, you can convert this value either to byte, you can convert it the value to either to double, long, float, short. Okay, because even for the primitive data types, what we can do is we can assign integer data type to long, right? So it's the same case, but you can explicitly typecast, and you can convert double also to float. But the only thing that you have to remember is whether that value is falling within the range or not. That is the only thing you have to remember. Okay, now not just the integer. Okay, even if you see double, even if you see the double, I1 dot value, you have all this. So for all byte, for all these wrapper classes, byte, short, integer, long, float, double, what you can do is you can pass like you can convert any you can convert integer, or you can convert short, you have all these methods available. Okay, int dot value of, just a second, yeah. So you can if you have double, you can convert it to any type. Okay, you can use corresponding methods, and you can convert it to byte, double, float, int, long, short. The only thing you have to remember is whether, like when you are converting double to float and the lower ranges, you will not have any problem. Like when you are converting the lower range to the higher range, like if you are converting byte to short, then you will not have any problem. But if you are converting the higher range values to the lower range values, the only thing you have to remember is whether that value fits in the range or not. That we already discussed in the typecasting. Okay, so you have, for all these data types, okay, for all this byte, short, integer, long, float, double, along with just the in double value, you have the other methods as well. Okay, now let's look at the character and the boolean, because character and boolean, they work a different way, right? They do store a different values. Okay, character C is equal to character dot value of let's say 2. I'll just put this. Okay, character C1. Now if you see character, you get only character value. Like if you look at the methods, you have just char value, you don't have this int value, byte value, short value, because character works a different way. But all these byte, short, integer, long, float, they all work with the numbers, numerics. That's why they have other methods also available, but for character you don't have other methods. Let's see the same thing for boolean as well. Okay, boolean b1 equal to new boolean dot value of, so I'll assume true. I'll put true. Now b1 dot value, you have only the boolean value method, because these works only on true, false. Let's say if I give, apart from true, false, if I give something else, right, it will throw error. Okay, it will throw definitely error. Value, you have only one method, boolean value, char value. But for others, you have for boolean, you just have the boolean value to convert wrapper to the primitive. For character also, you just have the char value to convert character to char. Whereas byte, short, integer, long, float, double, you have dot byte value, dot short value, dot long value present on all wrapper classes. Okay, yeah. So now we have discussed, what we have discussed is, we have discussed how to convert a primitive to wrapper class, and how to convert a wrapper class to the primitive. We discussed how to do it explicitly, and we also discussed that Java does that for you. To do explicitly, what you have to do is, you have to use value of method to convert primitive to wrapper class, and you have to use char value or int value to convert wrapper to the primitive. Okay, now this auto boxing, okay, whatever we have discussed, this auto boxing or auto unboxing that is taken care by Java doesn't work only just for collections. Okay, it works for methods as well. Okay, let's see, public void add of, let's say, integer a. Now here if you see, this is expecting a primitive type, but you can pass either a primitive type or wrapper class here. Let's say add of, maybe what I can do is integer dot value of 1. It will still work. Okay, it will not throw any error. Why? Yeah, this is a static method. Okay, so it will still work, it will not, but actually it is expecting a primitive type, but you are passing a wrapper class, it will still work. And if you pass 1 also, it will work. Let's say you have this wrapper class defined here. Now we are passing a primitive, it will still work. And even if you pass wrapper class also, it will still work. So what I'm trying to say here is, auto boxing and unboxing works everywhere, not just for collection. Even when you are using a method and that method argument is expecting primitive, and if you pass wrapper class, it will unbox it. And if it is expecting a primitive and you are passing, if it is expecting a wrapper class and you are passing primitive, it will auto box for you. Okay, and even for the return types as well. Let's say int return. Okay, now return, it is returning 1. Okay, now what you are, let's say I'm trying to assign it to primitive. Okay, int i1, it will still work. Okay, add of 1, it will work, because what you can think is, okay, anyway it is returning primitive type, that's why it did not throw error. Let's say if you assign to integer as well, wrapper class as well, it will still work. Okay, and now if let's say it is returning wrapper class and you are assigning to primitive, it will still work. Okay, if you assign to, so it works everywhere. It works for return types, it works for the method arguments, and even let's say even if you try to assign like this int I1 equal to integer dot value, it will still integer dot value, it will still work. Basically what is happening here, you are assigning a wrapper class to the primitive, it will still work. It will auto unbox it for you. You are passing the wrapper class but it is expecting the primitive, it will auto unbox for you. Okay, now let's say you have this integer I12, and if you pass 123 integer 2, you pass 123, it will still work. What it is doing, it is converting primitive type and then it is getting assigned to the wrapper class. So auto boxing and unboxing, it not just works for the collections, it works for method arguments, it will work for the return types, it will work for the assignments. Let's look at the operand. Okay, now let's say you have integer I equal to 1. Okay, and then you are doing I plus plus. Usually we know this assignment, we know this addition operator, right? Now let's say you do this on wrapper class, it will still work. Okay, it's not that what Java internally does is it will convert this integer to the primitive type and then it will does that operation for you on the primitive. Though you pass, like you can use this operands as well. Okay, I plus plus is basically nothing but I equal to I plus 1, right? So that those operands usually works on the primitive data types, but this auto boxing and unboxing works everywhere. That's why you have this logic present here as well. Okay, yeah, now let's say if you want to do I plus 2 12, okay, then it also works. Now let's say if I do this integer I2 equal to I plus 12, it will still work. Now if you see, you are using plus operator on the wrapper class. Okay, usually if you use like this with another classes, it will throw error, but this will work on wrapper classes because what Java does is it will convert into to the corresponding primitive type. It will convert one, now it is the wrapper class, right? It will convert one wrapper class to the primitive type and then it will do 1 plus 12 13, and that primitive it will auto boxes and it will put it into in the I2. Okay, so auto boxing and unboxing works for collections, method arguments, return types, operands, and then assignments. Okay, and if you want to do it explicitly, I already explained you. Each wrapper class has a value of method which will convert its corresponding primitive type to the wrapper class, and each wrapper class has also int value method. Okay, like integer dot value of 1 dot int value of methods. Each wrapper class has int value methods as well to convert wrapper to the primitive. Primitive to wrapper is used by value of, and wrapper to primitive you can use this value of. Okay, now let's discuss two more utility methods that are provided by Java. Okay, now while doing the value of, you observe one thing, right? There are two value of methods present. So here you can pass integer as well as the string. So in the when you say string, right, the value inside this double quote should be numerics only. Okay, but it's just that it is a string. You can convert string also to a, yeah, like for each and every wrapper class, what you can do is you can convert string as well. Okay, integer dot value. So if you see here, yeah, just a second. So if you see integer dot value, you can pass the string as well to convert into the corresponding integer. Okay, so like not just the integer, you can pass string as well, like 12. It should be only numerics. Okay, if you pass anything something like this, it will fail. Let me do that. If you do something like that, it will fail. It will throw, I guess, runtime exception, because this is not an integer. It will throw a runtime format exception, but now this will work. Okay, it will not throw any error. And let me explain you one more method called integer dot parse int. So to convert, so first method what I have shown, value of. So now we have discussed auto boxing and unboxing. Now what I am talking is converting a string. Okay, converting a string to integer or double or character. Converting a string to a primitive data type. Okay, now if you use value of and then if you pass string, it will give you a wrapper. It will, if you use value of and then if you pass string, it will give you the wrapper class. Okay, integer. And if you use parse string of, okay, if you just a second, and if you use parse int of and then if you use the string, right, it will give you a primitive value. Okay, so now if you look here, parse int of and if you use string value, it will give you a primitive. So first thing is value of, we all know that it will give you a wrapper class. But if you use parse int class and if you use a string, what it will do is it will convert it to a primitive data type. So basically each each wrapper class has parse method which is parsing the string into the corresponding primitive data type. Okay, now if I do 1234, it will work. Let's say I'll do it for double as well. Double dot parse double of, I can use 323.6, it will still work. Okay, next float dot parse float of. So okay, you can use this 3.2f as well. Okay, it will still work. Long dot parse long of 324l, it will work. Now let's say boolean dot parse boolean of, it should be only true false. Okay, if you pass any other value, it will throw error. Likewise character dot parse character does not have anything because, okay, yeah. Now if you see what is happening is it is converting this 343 these strings into the primitive data types. Now it will not throw any error here. Okay, it will still work. So where is this number format exception, Java 11? Let's see. Yeah, you just give the value. Yeah, now it worked. Okay, now if you look here, these are the methods which convert string to the corresponding primitive data types, but the value should be, now if I give you, okay, instead of true, if I give like this, it will not, there are no compile time errors, but there are runtime errors, because while converting true to the corresponding primitive type, it should have these values. Okay, if you try, okay, these it will throw error. So now what we have understood is to convert a string to a primitive data type. Now it will return, you can assign this to integer I. Okay, now you can assign it to double D. So to convert a string to a primitive data type, you can use these methods. Float f, long L1. So yeah, you can use all this. Long L1 equal to, now let's say you use boolean b1. Now let me see. So you have converted the string into the corresponding primitive data types. Now how to convert a primitive data type to a string? Okay, now for that what you can do is, you can, like string s is equal to, directly you can use this. Okay, you can use this and you can use this I. You can just use this colons and then plus I, it will convert it to the string, and even if you print it, it will still work. I. Okay, now let's see I. It will work, it will still work. This is one way of converting primitives to a string. Now another way is integer dot another way is string dot value of, you can pass string dot value of, you can pass integer, character, long, anything, and you can convert it to a string as well. So this is like converting primitives to the string. So first thing we have discussed how to convert a string to a primitive. Now we are converting a primitive to a string. Okay, yeah, this is one method. String dot value of, you can pass I. It will still work. Okay, it will still work. System dot out dot println, it will still work. Now one more, this is one more way, and one more way is system dot out dot println of, what you can do is double dot to string of, you can pass D. It will work. Okay, so it will, what we are doing is we are converting to string. So if you look here, so we like, first thing what we have done is we have converted primitive, we have converted strings to primitive using parse int, parse double, parse float, parse long, and parse boolean. Okay, and the next thing what you have done is you have converted primitives int, double, float, long to string. Okay, sometimes you might want to, there might be use cases where you want to assign these values to the string. First thing is just add this quotations plus primitive, and the other one is string dot value of double dot to string of. Okay, so to summarize what we have discussed in this video, we have discussed about wrapper classes. Wrapper classes are nothing but the classes which are corresponding classes for the primitive data types. Okay, so Java does auto boxing, like Java converts primitive data types to the wrapper classes automatically wherever it is needed, be it collections or method arguments or return types or operands, anywhere. Okay, and Java also converts a wrapper class into a primitive data type as well wherever it is required. Okay, and if you want to do that explicit conversion to convert primitive to the wrapper class, what you have to do is you have to use this value of method, and to convert wrapper class to a wrapper class to a primitive, you have to use int value or char value or boolean value. Okay, so boolean and char only has a boolean value and char value, but all these others will have the other methods available. Okay, so this is the auto boxing and auto unboxing, and even if you want to use the explicit conversion, you can use these methods, value of, int value of. Now another thing is we have also these wrapper classes also have methods for converting to string to a primitive. So here you have a string class. Okay, and then you have converted it to a primitive type using parse int, parse double, parse float, and parse long. And to convert a primitive data type to the string, there are two methods. One is you can use this quotations plus primitive value, and the other thing is string dot value of, and other thing is double dot string to string of. So like while doing all these things, right, you have to be careful that whatever the values you are passing, whatever you are expecting, you should pass those values only. Now here you have to pass numerics only. Like even if I pass a something like that, you will not get any error during compile time, but during runtime you will get error, because you are trying to convert the string to the integer, and integer should have the only numerics. And even for boolean also you have to pass only true or false. Okay, but you can pass like this true. Okay, name like a case match it will do, but you should not pass other values except that what it is expected. Okay, yeah, thank you.